Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GamerTube. So recently, myself and the other members of GamerTube, Jordan and Jade, played Poppy Playtime. So in that video, we of course met the terrifying Huggy and Poppy, but we also saw a couple of hints to different characters that could be in the next chapter. So one character we saw in particular was the Pink Huggy. Now we're well aware that this could just be a pink version of Huggy, but we wanted to actually make a different character and a different backstory altogether. So for the next character that we think might be in the next chapter, we have Lovey-Dovey. So we'll go into this character's backstory, their location, their gameplay mechanics, and all that good stuff as well. So lastly, before we start today's video, if you could please consider subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it is greatly appreciated. Also, it keeps you up to date with all the videos that we post. Alrighty, well, let's take a look at the next possible character, Lovey-Dovey. So before we get into the possible next character, Lovey-Dovey, let's first take a look at the story and the characters we've seen so far in Poppy Playtime. Playtime Co. was once one of the leading brands in the toy manufacturing industry. That was until one day, everybody inside the factory mysteriously disappeared. In Poppy Playtime, we play as a nameless protagonist who was once an employee at Playtime Co. Many years later, they've returned to the abandoned factory once more to uncover the truth about the mysterious disappearances. Our protagonist receives a letter and a VHS tape containing the original advert for Playtime Co.'s signature doll, Poppy. At the end of the tape, we see a suspicious looking door with a large painted Poppy on the wall. The note with the VHS says, "Find the flower." So therein lies our protagonist's reason for coming back so many years later. So in chapter 1, we got to see the entrance of the factory and more of the assembly line machines near the end. Whilst exploring the factory, we get to see a number of different characters. Of course, the main frightening character we're introduced to is Huggy Wuggy. And at the end of the chapter, we also see Poppy as we open up her glass display case. But like I said, throughout the factory, we get plenty of hints to many different toy characters that we might see in the future. So apart from Huggy and Poppy, we also see Boogiebot, Catbee, Bron, and Candy Cat. Now when the player walks into the main hall, we can see the majority of these characters painted on the walls. They appear to be linked with different sections of the factory. The first character we see, of course, is Huggy, who is seen wearing a construction hat and holding a hammer, and they appear to be linked with the power room. Then we have Boogiebot, who is holding a wrench and is linked with the green coloured testing facility. Next up is the Innovation Center with Poppy, who is also seen wearing a hard hat and holding a wrench. And last we have Catbee and Bron. Seeing that Catbee is holding a soda and Bron is holding popcorn, it's safe to say that these characters are linked with the theatre. But when it comes to the cafeteria, there appears to be a missing character. Now, this could be Candy Cat. Seeing that they're somewhat linked with food, that does make sense. Or it could be a different character that we only get a couple of glimpses at in the first chapter. This character, of course, is the Pink Huggy Wuggy. We can see this character on a poster in the power room, and also their long pink arms painted on the walls of the hallway where we first see Huggy's arm. Now, as far as I know, this character doesn't have a name as of yet. Seeing that they look to be Huggy Wuggy's female counterpart, we're calling her Lovey-Dovey. So in the story of Poppy Playtime, the original Huggy Wuggy doll was designed and programmed to give their owner plenty of hugs. Whereas on the other hand, Lovey-Dovey was designed to play with and style their owner's hair. Lovey-Dovey's main feature was her ability to braid hair. Their fingertips are equipped with a number of metal hooks. Children would place multiple bundles of hair strands in these hooks. Then, Lovey's hand would start to spin as the hair begins to braid. The early testing prototypes of Lovey-Dovey dolls did have their fair share of problems. The problem being, the doll's spinning hand wouldn't stop and would manage to rip out the hair of the volunteer test subjects. But eventually, these bugs were ironed out, and as far as Playtime Co. was concerned, none of these incidents were reported when the final toy released. Now, just like in Chapter 1, we have Huggy chasing us relentlessly through the vents, trying to capture the player. Some people have speculated that since Huggy was designed to hug, he's actually only trying to give the player a hug. A hug that he would never let go from. So considering that Lovey-Dovey's main feature was to style and play with hair, she could be obsessed with the player's hair and possibly want to rip it out. Considering we don't know what our main protagonist's hair looks like, they may in fact have long hair that Lovey would love to sink her sharp metal hooks into. So, in the end of Chapter 1, we finally locate the Poppy door. Inside this room we find Poppy herself inside her glass case. Now, as to where this will take us in the next chapter, it isn't exactly clear. But considering we've now freed Poppy, this could unlock the innovation center that she seems to be linked with. But instead of Poppy occupying this area, it would be Lovey-Dovey. As the player walks into this area, they could see multiple posters and signs warning workers to be wearing a hairnet at all times. This would be due to Lovey-Dovey being obsessed with hair. Just the sight of it would make them go into a crazed state. Obviously, the player wouldn't have a hairnet on hand, so they'd enter at their own risk. So throughout this new area, the player would have to tackle a number of different puzzles and unlock a number of different doors. Throughout this chapter, if the player takes notice, they could be able to see Lovey staring at them through vents and around corners. Eventually, when the player gets closer to the end of this chapter, they would finally meet Lovey-Dovey. Now, this could be similar to the chase sequence with Huggy, but it wouldn't take place in the tight claustrophobic vents. This chase sequence would instead take place in multiple rooms and corridors. The player would need to use their grab pack to open and close multiple doors to slow down and escape from Lovey-Dovey. Every time they closed one of the doors, they could see Lovey using her claw hooks to tear straight through the door. They could also use the grab pack to activate multiple machines and conveyor belts to slow down and place obstacles in Lovey's way. During this intense chase sequence, we could also see a number of frightening death animations and jump scares. If Lovey catches up to you, she could grab you with one of her claws and claw at your face and hair with the other. Or we could see the typical pop-up jump scares whenever the player is too slow and gets caught. In the end of this chase sequence, the player could narrowly escape through a heavily armoured door that Lovey wouldn't be able to claw through. Another interesting idea would be that in the later chapter, we could see Lovey and Huggy teaming up, and the player having to deal with the two terrifying toys. Considering we don't really know what happened to Huggy when they fell, there's a possibility that they could definitely come back in a later chapter. Now, I think Lovey-Dovey would definitely be an interesting character to add to Poppy Playtime. They would offer plenty of tense gameplay moments and jump scares. I also think they could definitely be more than just a different variation of the original blue Huggy Wuggy doll. But regardless of what character we get, all of us here at GamerJube can't wait to see what's in store for us in the next chapter of Poppy Playtime. Alrighty everyone, well that's all we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. Also, be sure to comment down below what you thought of today's character, and also whatever characters you think are going to appear in the series. Alright everyone, well until the next video, I'll catch you later, bye.